Hey guys, greetings from Jmeter. Today we'll be going over how to set up your first performance test in less than 5 minutes. As soon as you open Jmeter, you're going to see a test plan. The test plan is basically the series of steps that you want to execute in order. The next thing that you want to do is create a test group. We can do that by right click on test plan, click add, click threads, users, and click on a thread group. The thread group is basically the scenario that you want to execute. For our scenario, I'll be using the cat facts, right? So this is the API that I will be performance testing today. This is an open source API. So inside the thread group, there are three important parameters. The first is the number of threads, the ramp up period, and the loop count. The number of threads directly translates to the number of users that you want to actually hit the API. For example, in case of login, the number of simultaneous users that you want to be logging in. So that is what the number of threads basically translates to. The ramp up period is especially useful in the conditions where you want to increase the load. For example, say your performance test has 10 users trying to log in. You don't want to start with 10 immediately. So you start with 1 and then you wait for the ramp up period and then you go with 2. If the ramp up period is 1 second, and the number of threads is actually 10, the first second there will be 1 user, the second second there will be 2 users, and so on, right? So by 9th second there will be 10 users. So that is what this is. The loop count is pretty much self-explanatory. It is going to, all the steps inside the thread group will be looped this many number of times, right? So let's go add another step to the thread group. I want to add a HTTP request. You can do that by right click on add sampler and HTTP request, and it will just fill out the basic information on top of this. We know from this API that the HTTPS is the protocol, and the server name is the catfact.ninja, right? And this is the path. The path is nothing but the endpoint, and it's a GET request. So we just leave it at that, right? And that's it. You have configured a thread group, and inside the thread group, you have configured an HTTP request. And now if you click on run, it's going to send this API request one time because that's what our test parameter says. We just need to run it once. The loop count is 1, the ramp duration is 1, the total number of users is also 1. So how do we know that the request has actually gone through? How do we know that this is actually working? So you can do that simply by adding a new listener. So listeners are basically like a part of the Jmeter that will listen to your test and that will show us the responses, or that will show us the results in different aspects, right? So the view results tree is one of the most common listener that you want to add, especially when you're setting up a Jmeter like this. So view results tree usually contains each and every one of the requests that is being sent. Any action that is taking place through Jmeter, the view results tree is going to contain that. So this is we are going to send one request. So this is the result. This is the request that is being sent, and this is the request headers, and this here is the response data. So this is a cat fact. So you get a random cat fact every time you run this. Now, how do we make this into a scalable performance test? You want to increase the number of loop count in this situation. Let's say I'm changing that to 100 and I'm rerunning this test again. Now, if you take a look at the results tree, that you will see each and every request being sent. Right? So it will send you 100 requests, and you'll be able to see the response data for all the 100 requests. Right? Now, this is the result, and it contains the load time, it contains latency, it contains the size and whatnot. Now, how do you make sure that all of this is present in one place? One of the easier ways of doing this is to add a new listener to the thread group aggregate report, right? When the aggregate report, when you run this test again, you will be able to see the total HTTP request, number of samples, the average response time, the median response time, the 90th percentage line, 95th percentage line, 9%. I'll be explaining to you about this in detail, right? So minimum time it took, the maximum time it took, the error percentage, the throughput, and whatnot. Weird how the error percentage is 90%, but we have all the requests that went through and we're able to see the response for each and every one of them. Well, we are not going to dig deeper into this. I'm pretty sure that there is a reasonable explanation behind this, but that is not the point of this video. This is to set up your first performance test. Now, I have all this information. You have the average response time. This is one of the critical key performance indicator, right? So the average response time should be acceptable. The next thing you want to do, oh hey, okay, I have the average response time. Now how do I see in which aspects the response time has increased, right? You can do that by adding another listener response time graph, which is awesome. So the interval is set to 10 seconds, which is bad. So I'm just going to reduce it to 20 for the test because it only executes it 100 times, right? The API is only called 100 times, so 20 makes sense to me. So I'm going to run this. Once the test is run, if I click on this graph tab, I should be able to see all the response times, which is awesome. Right, the test is done, and you are now able to see the response time graph. We see that the response time has peaked in certain timestamps, and it can be one of the things that you might want to debug. Right. Well, here it is. You have set up your very first performance test. You run it successfully. You were able to analyze the results, and you can even write the response time to a file and see at what timestamp, what time that has taken for each and every response. Right. So that is very special. That is especially useful in case of debugging things like this. So here we go. Thank you.